Hello, we're finally on video.
Hey!
I think
Hello.
if this is working anyway, this is
Okay.
episode 12, very special episode now that we've finally got a video, if it works. So, hello, Greg. Hello, Kyle.
Hello.
Hello, salute.
We've had many technical difficulties this week and last week, but I think we're finally here. Kyle sorted his camera issue, we sorted the audio issue, so we shall see. But Greg's camera needs specs as it's a bit blurry.
Long distance, or is it long sighted?
So
So,
you can't see the shithole of a flat that's behind me.
Well, we can explain that later. Actually, we can
yeah, we'll
we
save
can
that for
we can show it.
later on. And we've also, you can actually see now that we've got, well, they're not 3 pints, but they're 3 beers nonetheless.
Mine stays
So,
You're
50.
left out of the club.
is it in date?
Yeah, June 23.
I bought these not that long ago, actually. Oh,
Just
no, these are out of date.
probably
20.
better.
Oh, well.
Oh,
You gave me fucking Sol from 2021. It was all right.
Hey, we'll just make you help you grow up strong.
I've got big bones now.
Right. Let's get started on that note. Obviously, this week we've just had Burns night yesterday. As you can tell by the Scottish theme going on. I've got a Queen's top on, but we'll come to that later on because there's a reason. Kyle's rocking the saltire there.
And
That's
the 2015 Classic.
Yeah, I was going to say that's some Scottish national team official merchandise.
This is the James Morrison era.
Was that when you seen? Was it Slovakia?
No, it was 2017. Saw Gibraltar about this time.
Yeah.
That was like Stevie Fletcher hat trick.
God, that must have been a wee while ago.
definitely.
Why are you drinking it like a flute? Right,
Oh,
let's get started.
Actually, fun one. I broke my braces on a hot dog at Hampden Park. 3 wire.
Did you have mustard on it?
Nah,
Yes, I was going
ketchup.
to say we've just had a debate whether mustard should be on a hot dog. So please, I might put a Twitter poll up. If you can answer that, that would be brilliant. Because I've been told that I'm a freak for having mustard on it.
Yes.
No, Kyle, you're wrong. Mustard's fine, mate.
Yeah, if you like kids.
Anyway,
Hey,
Kidding.
enough
hey,
of
good
that.
away. How very mature. Right, let's get started. Cup upset this week. Darvel have dumped the Dons out of the Scottish Cup. Absolutely massive. Greg, is it the biggest upset in Scottish Cup history?
I mean, we might have predicted it before it happened. I don't know. It was one that was up there. It's something that you could have seen coming. I'm not sure it's the biggest of all time, but I'm not sure what is.
I feel like there is a few games that you look at and you think that could go either way. I know it sounds stupid, but you know what I mean. There's always when there's been a draw for the next round, there's always something.
We had Brewer beating Hearts recently. Obviously, recently.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was.
Was that not COVID season? Was that not just before COVID happened?
I'm not entirely sure actually.
And
Um,
Clyde beating Celtic, moons ago, Roy Keane time.
One that came to mind with me was Auchinleck Talbot beating Ayr United.
mhm. Local rivalry there as well.
Yeah.
Who did Pollock beat last season or this season?
They knocked out Annan, but it wasn't.
Somewhat.
No, Annan did Annan knock out them? I can't. They played Annan. I can't remember who won.
No, they went to Ayr and Ayr beat them 1-0.
Yeah, so massive result nonetheless. After beating Aberdeen, Kyle, do you think they could go on and beat Falkirk, who they have next in the next round? I'm not actually sure what round it is. Is it 4 or
Fifth.
5?
It was fifth.
Fifth.
I mean, I don't see
Yeah.
why they can't beat them. Beat Aberdeen. Premiership side, you can beat Falkirk, who are 2 divisions below.
Speaking of Falkirk, actually, I see that one Allegri's went back to Rangers.
Ah.
So, I don't know, maybe they have a replacement lined up.
Just signed some boy for Clyde, Jordan Allen. 10 goals and 3 assists or something, I've seen.
Not horrendous, actually.
For Clyde.
Oh.
Aye, considering where they are in the league.
Bottom.
Yeah.
Jim Duffy.
Yep. Still not won a game. Love to raise that. I would say actually, and I agree. I don't see why they can't beat Falkirk. I feel like I've banged this drum enough. We need to be open about it. Yes, the Newcastle fans going to be the one talking about finances. Put your hypocrite comments in the chat or in the comments. I don't care.
Or tweet him.
Darvel are a bankrolled club. They do have money behind them. They do have players that are too good for the level they're at. They do have former Queen's legend Ian McShane playing for them.
And Andy Sterling.
And Andy Sterling.
Yeah.
Are they likely to play a team that's as shit as Aberdeen again? No.
Falkirk.
But Falkirk might turn up.
I hope they do.
Aberdeen didn't.
3-0.
I saw a lot of compliments on Twitter saying about the state of the pitch. Actually, how it did look good, very good condition considering the league that they're in. Thought we could have brought it into talk about how a lot of people say that they'll starting actually off with the National Stadium Hampden, saying that Hampden isn't good enough. You saw the surface after one game of Celtic versus Kilmarnock. What do you think? Do you think?
Never seen the pitch for the Kilmarnock game, so
it wasn't horrendous, but the rain because Rangers and Aberdeen played the next day, as Michael Beale said, it was a cow field.
It was pissing down though, was it not that weekend?
I can't remember. Probably.
it's always fucking raining.
Pissing down.
When did it raining?
The pitch comment is made by those with an agenda. Let's make that clear. The pitch comment's made by folk with an agenda against artificial pitches. And if we want to pick things that Hampden isn't good enough at, the pitch is quite far down the list. I've got things I'd rather improve at Hampden above the pitch.
Like what?
Being closer to the pitch.
Oh yeah, true. It was when I was there for the Slovakia game. It was quite a distance.
It is quite a distance.
The running track, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a big gap between where the stewards stand.
Yeah.
I thought it was taken off there. I think you forget that we can see you this time. I'm not adjusting my chair because I'll never get it back to the right stand. I've also just realised that I'm not putting my headphones on, but we're just going to roll with it. Is he falling? Is he okay?
No, he was singing Oasis. That's as much as I got. To go back to that, yeah, people who want to compliment that pitch are the same people who have the agenda against artificial pitches, and that's something I don't share. I can't decide whether that's because we are fans of teams with an artificial pitch.
I was going to bring that up actually. What I've written down is should there be artificial surfaces in the top leagues? Because I think it was the Dutch leagues banned them, didn't it? It was recently I read it.
Yeah.
I think it's good for teams that can't afford a groundsman.
You still need a groundsman for it though. It's just the underfloor heating and the cover, you know, those big like light cover things they put on.
Maybe more so part-time teams and who can't afford as much, but like full-time teams shouldn't have it. Pretty much teams shouldn't have it.
I disagree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. They're used in, a lot of sports. I don't see why football can't be the same. I don't see why football has to be special in that regard. There are questions about injuries, but if other sports manage it, why can't football? At the end of the day, it's Scotland and it's Scottish football. The teams that have artificial pitches save money by having an artificial pitch. And a lot of teams generate money by having one because they can lease the pitch out.
True. Because I went to Annan, as you know, and I was trying to buy my tickets, and you could rent the pitch.
Yeah.
Don't know how much, but you could rent the pitch out.
You can rent the pitch at Palmerston.
But yeah, because Heston play at Palmerston, right? And Edgesport in the past, who we've talked about before in the podcast, Edgesport Academy used to play at Gallowbank.
Caledonian Braves, sure.
Yes.
Rebrand. Yeah, before Heston folded, Greg. I've not been in the league for like 2 years.
Oh, did I miss that bit?
So the Youngins play. I've played at Palmerston once or twice.
Yeah, I played youth football there. You can rent it, but it costs more.
Yeah, it costs a fortune.
Yeah,
it's a surface anyway.
I think we should also say that it's the west coast of Scotland, and for Queens anyway, and for the rest of Scotland, it is going to rain. The conditions are going to be poor. What is more poor is people who see an artificial pitch and think, well, the game must be on anyway. No matter how much snow there's been or how much ice there's been, who seem to think that an artificial surface means the game has to go ahead. They seem to think it's an all-weather pitch. I'm sorry, but if there was a Category 5 hurricane, that's also all-weather. The game wouldn't go ahead. people need to get it out their heads and stop having this agenda.
I think, yeah, it's kind of, they'll think of it. They're basically using any excuse they can. The
But
issue
for
is,
balance,
it's not that you don't get the same, obviously, it doesn't get muddy that way, but it does freeze.
and for balance, some of the pitches, especially in the Premier League, where the criticism is the most allowed, some of the criticism there is fair because some of the pitches are absolutely shocking.
Well, to be fair, every time you get an artificial pitch, Rangers or Celtic go and throw a flare on it and burn it.
Yeah.
Animals.
Absolute animals.
So yeah, well, I wrote down could link to Queen of the South, but we've already had done that. I don't know if I mean, I'd prefer them not being in the top league, but then at the same time, you could use that argument for every league, and it just kind of doesn't make sense.
But in that argument as well, what you're saying is if you win the championship or if you get promoted, to go into the league, you've then to rip your pitch up and put a grass one in. And what's the point?
Or ground
By
shape.
implementing that rule, you're basically making sure everyone has a grass pitch by default, because everyone will just put a grass pitch in, because if they get promoted, they then don't have to remove it again. Because what's the point if you're going to have to remove it?
Yeah, true.
But on the flip side, home advantage, make it great again. So
Yeah. I mean, Queens have been utter shit at home since we've had an artificial pitch, but that's
And away.
also because in that time, Queens have been shit everywhere when we've had an artificial pitch.
That's not entirely true. Because we reached the playoffs and beat Rangers several times at Palmerston on that artificial pitch.
Mm.
But then
that's when we were
again,
good.
it was the likes of Bilal Mosney played for Rangers, so maybe that isn't a fair argument. It's Steve Simonson in goals.
Stevie Smith at left back.
That's when we were decent everywhere. Like, we were decent home and away. It's not like a massive home advantage. The places you think of when you think of home advantage in Scotland are places like Arbroath and Gayfield, where it's to do with the weather and, you know, the pitch is irrelevant because the wind's coming at you at 100 mile an hour. I would say the one other thing is every time Queens played Hearts on that pitch, or Dundee United when he was at Dundee United, win, lose or draw, Robbie Nielsen would have a go about the artificial pitch, and it needs to stop. Deal with it, Robbie. They're here.
Paradise.
No, when did United play Queens?
Oh, right, sorry.
That was been a wee while ago.
2 seasons ago, wasn't it? Among
Sure.
not again.
Well, I was just going to say, when I think back to when Queens had an artificial pitch, I just think of this. Sorry, a grass pitch is when I think back to. I think it was the year that we won the double. You know, the League One Queens.
2030.
Yeah, and I just remember the big there was like two. You can see, you know, the kind of drains on the pitch, like where the water would run out. I just remember that. So, yeah.
Excuse me.
That backs up Greg's argument. The pitches like that aren't going to stay.
Like,
Standard all year.
you can have a shit artificial pitch, or you can have a grass pitch that's a gutter mess. What one do you want?
True.
You get more postponements with a grass pitch.
Well, look at
You
Dundee,
do.
2 cup games, but to be fair, I don't know what they look like. They cover their pitch with a wee napkin. Nothing gets done with that. Yeah. So, aye. Big
Yes,
result.
other Scottish Cup news. Hearts, of course. Thumped Hibs.
Forgot about that. I've seen some TikTok rivalry going on. The Hearts and the Hibs admin keep firing wee digs at each other.
Never seen them.
No, I don't have TikTok.
It's quite funny.
I don't know if anyone else seen that game. Lauren Shanklin got sent off for a second booking. Neither of them were bookings.
I saw the second highlight. I was working, so I never saw it, but I saw the highlight of the second yellow. It didn't look like a yellow to me.
It didn't, or it did?
Didn't.
Didn't. No, it wasn't. Like, I don't see what else he's meant to do there. Not challenge for the ball?
Kind of striker's instinct.
Yeah.
So you think neither were a foul?
Well, the first one was just absolutely stupid. Like, it wasn't a yellow. And the second one, like, it was a foul, but a foul, and that's it. Like, it wasn't enough for a second yellow, but I suppose if you're on a yellow, you give someone a decision to make. What's more
Yeah,
important is
50.
Hearts' quality of goals. Like Hearts' second goal was absolutely amazing. The Shankland goal was phenomenal. It was great play, and it's a great finish.
He's
And
on
he
fire,
should
by the way.
100% be in the Scotland team.
He is on fire.
Yes, I see related to that as well. I see Kevin Nisbet might be moving to Millwall. I read that earlier today.
Saw that in
Seen
the
that too.
region of 2 million.
Expected the next 24 hours. So watch this space.
Yeah, what are they going to do? How are they going to cope? They're already shite.
This is Thursday. Recording this, by the way, Thursday the 26th.
Yes, go live tomorrow on YouTube and Spotify with a video this time. At 12 o'clock sharp. Be ready. Have your wee packed lunch sitting ready. Get it streamed.
Yeah, bottle of beer. Join in this.
Only if you're off work though. Save that for later if you're not.
Or not work.
Nah, even if you're at work. It's Friday lunchtime, man. That's almost the
In
weekend.
the staff room tomorrow at lunch. I'll just waste some beer and like write it off and have a wee carry it.
Put in your cereal.
Hmm?
Put it in your cereal.
I don't know what beer would be best for that.
Probably Tennants. Tennants and
Carling.
Frosties.
I love Frosties.
Nah, Carlin on cereal because it's tap water anyway.
I don't know what tap water you're drinking down there.
It's Wales. Rat
Tap
piss.
water is shit.
Right. As discussed a few weeks ago, sorry, I've just got my running order over here. First manager to go, Lampard is gone. Everton have sacked Frank Lampard.
It's not the first, is it?
But since we discussed it,
No,
yeah.
I apologise.
Nah, since we discussed it, I think he's been the first. Who'll replace him? Greg, I'll ask you first.
I mean, they're apparently in talks with Marcelo Bielsa, which would be absolutely amazing if absolute chaos.
I think it'd be a good appointment.
Depends.
I feel like it's going to be, it could either go two ways. It could be like Bielsa or it could be like Rooney.
I would say more like Rooney.
I want it to be Rooney because I want them to get relegated.
Do you think this could be the year they go down?
Hopefully.
Have a chance.
The issue is I don't think they come back straight back up. I think they're still going
Good.
to get. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's still Gordon in the summer.
Well, there's talk that Newcastle are interested in him. I don't particularly want Anthony Gordon as a Newcastle fan because he's a diver and a cheater and basically a massive prick. And I don't think he would contribute that much to the Newcastle team. I'd rather not have him in my squad. I also seen, surprise, yeah, who else was like with Anthony Gordon? Chelsea. As if they don't have enough players in that position already, they're going to probably buy another one, though this time not on Klarna because UEFA have banned that, probably as a result of our podcast.
I reckon they're listening.
Go us.
So yeah, Kyle, who'll be the next manager to get the boot? Who's going to follow Lamps out the door? There's a few on the edge, teetering on the edge.
It could be Marsh, Jesse Marsh, Leeds, or
That was what first came to my head.
Yeah.
I think if anyone else is going to in hot water, Klopp outside shout,
Fair point, no.
or Potter.
That's not happy.
Surely someone at the bottom panics. Like you look at the bottom of that table and you think surely someone panics at some point soon. But actually, like the West Ham board seem to believe in Moyes. Moyes seems to think he can get there. Lopetegui at Wolves is just there. Bournemouth sacked Scott Parker earlier in the season and appointed Gary O'Neill initially as an interim, and now he's got the job. They're still in the bottom three. Nathan Jones is relatively new.
Oh, actually, we were saying, quick side note, in the car, Wigan.
Yes.
Colaturi's gone. He forgot
no.
that he even managed them.
It's a shame. This is for Colo.
Colo.
I know it's down, but you can't see him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Jesse Marsh.
I think Marsh at this current, like, if it stays the same, I think Marsh is next to go.
Jesse, we are not in a relegation battle, Marsh. As he said on Saturday, again. Jesse, I hate to tell you, mate, you're 3 points off the bottom. You're in a relegation battle.
Read the top bottom three again for me again?
So if I go from, so kind of, as far as I'm concerned, everyone, like Villa are definitely not in it. They are definitely out of it now. But 12th downwards, you've got Palace on 24 points, Nottingham Forest on 21, Leicester, Leeds and West Ham on 18, Wolves and Bournemouth on 17, and Everton and Southampton on 15.
I didn't realise Wolves were so far down.
Yeah, they're still stuck in it a bit.
Rodgers could go next.
Yeah, Rodgers could. They're out of it a bit, but they're on a bad run. They've had 1 point out of 15. It's not looking good. I think the bottom three will be as is. I think those are the three teams that will go down: Bournemouth, Everton, and Southampton.
It'll be interesting.
Bournemouth could, yeah. Maybe
Bournemouth seems
Forest.
to be one of those teams that kind of like dip up and down.
I think Forest might go down.
The thing is, Forest are on the best run of anyone. Forest, out of 15 points, Forest have 8, which is comfortably the best run of anyone in that mix.
I think Palace are safe because they've got like such a good team.
Palace are fine. Palace are 3 points in front of that pack, really. But there's that. I think it's not more than they're like out of it mathematically. They're only 9 points off the bottom. But Palace are. There's that many teams in the road, and they're not all going to pick up points.
Yeah,
It's a bad run.
I agree with what you're saying, but it's mental to think they're only 3 points ahead. That's like, I mean, it's quite close this season.
Forest Leeds on Saturday. That could decide someone's fate. I
Well,
think if Forest win that, they pull away. When
we were talking about Scottish football, I meant to say that talking about Aberdeen, that the board have backed them. Good Jim, good win. So that means that this weekend's game is the El Sakiko against Hibernian.
Yes, it says. Well, you say back. The statement seemed to say, we need an immediate improvement, aka, did he win on Saturday? You're gone, pal.
The old Heathrow.
See.
Yes.
The sea, the northern.
Conte is leaving Spurs at the end of the season.
Is that confirmed now?
I think so.
I read it, but whether it was actually true, because kind of these live.
There's so many rumours.
If it's not, then it's rumoured. So what do we think, Kyle? I'll let you go first.
I think he's a good manager at a really shit club.
See, I saw a thing earlier on, and it is Jose Mourinho's 60th birthday. So happy birthday, Jose! If you get a chance, come on and be guest. Cheers! Happy 60th.
Any happy returns? I've got a beard in.
We can have a wee dram for him.
Happy birthday to you.
Scotch tomatoes. I saw that obviously his 60th. They put the teams that he's managed and all the trophies he's won, and the only one he didn't win a trophy at was Tottenham Hotspur.
That's because they're shite.
And he called Dele Alli's decline.
Now he's struggling in Turkey.
Struggling chicken.
Dele Alli video. No, I'm not gonna be that. So yeah, I think he's a good manager, but I don't know.
Sick to Spurs.
I don't know. These good managers come into Spurs and they just don't seem to. There's something's not right. I don't know.
They're not a
Is
good
that
team.
because the board don't back them though? Because the board have both backed and not. Yeah, they've both backed and not backed managers. Like after that, is it? I can't remember if it's correct, but is it not the case that after they got to that Champions League final, they then spent no money the following summer?
Yeah, something like that.
Like that to me is the problem.
I think it was 3 windows in a row.
Oh, Harry Kane said he's staying.
Well, they've said he's staying. He's still not signed yet. And, there are still people sniffing around. There's rumours of Bayern that I've read. There's rumours of Real Madrid that I've read.
Man U.
Where should he go though? Where would you
Anywhere.
Spurs.
Nah, but like if he was to leave Spurs, where would he go? I can't see him moving anyone else in the Prem. There's links to him
abroad.
Well, I don't know. Could you see him at Real Madrid?
No.
I mean, replacing Benzema? Yes. He's a very Real Madrid signing.
I think he's too old.
Poacher.
But Real Madrid have that though. Real Madrid sign strikers in they sign people at the peak of their career who'll go in and score.
They're saying youngsters as well to make them.
They have in recent times. But I think if Kane goes, that's the end of this Tottenham cycle. Any discussions or trophies and success, for me, that's it if Kane goes. And I think that's the same. Like, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on who the next Spurs manager might be. There's one obvious candidate, which is Pochettino.
Or Tuchel.
But really?
I can see Tuchel.
He's a good man. He's a
It'd
good
be
coach.
it'd be a good appointment, but I can't see Tuchel taking it.
He's another short-term, like, even Pochettino reeks short-term now. Like, I know he's a project manager and he built a project before, but does Pochettino not reek short-term?
He's going backwards.
Yeah, we want to fix something quickly. Tuchel, to me, says we want to fix something quickly. We want to win a trophy, and then you can sod off because that's what you've done everywhere else. I don't know if there's anyone out there that attracts to Tottenham, especially because Tuchel would want someone to back him, like Conte.
If
Bielsa.
Bielsa doesn't go ever, and does he slip into that job? He did well with Leeds.
He did, but surely not. He's going to fall out with that board within 5 minutes.
And that's what they need. Somebody to tell them their worth.
But surely Conte's done that. Conte's been known after like one loss to go, we've not been back to the transfer market immediately in an interview.
Kind of tit for tat in it with managers, because obviously the board do what they want, they say what they want, but at the end of the day, it's the manager that gets chucked on the line.
They don't have the power of other big clubs, especially in the Premier League, who can spend window after window after window. They're currently fifth.
Yeah.
It's not horrendous, but it should be doing better.
The top six at
It's
least.
not awful. Considering where Liverpool and Chelsea are, they're 7 points ahead of Liverpool and Chelsea.
See, with the Conference League now, how many spaces go to Europe?
7.
I think so. I can't remember how it works with the cup competitions because technically the League Cup winners should get a Conference League place, and then if someone who's qualified already wins it, it goes to the next team down. And it's the same with the FA Cup winners and the Europa League, I think.
Am I right in saying, so say for example, like, I don't know, Man City won the league, so they've got their Champions League spot, and then they won the FA Cup. That's a European spot as well. But then if a team that hasn't qualified, does that pass into them? Like, because when Queen of the South played Rangers have they changed it? Because I heard that. Because when Queens played Rangers in the 2008 Scottish Cup final, Rangers had already qualified. Queens played in the UEFA Cup the next season.
Did Hull not get in? When Hull got to the final in 2014?
Yes. I think the same happened with Stoke, if you remember, when Stoke lost the FA Cup final. That's completely changed now. So that didn't happen.
So what is it now? This next down in the league?
It goes to next down in the league. So that means if like the Europa League place, like they move down consecutively in the league basically.
Is it fair, do you think?
And then you've got the whole other situation. If English clubs win the Champions League, if an English club wins the Europa League, that changes everything again. Is it fair? It's fairer than someone who loses a cup final getting a place in Europe.
Suppose, because the other teams have earned it.
As much as it's amazing for Queens, if you say to someone, Aberdeen, my team, who now plays in the third tier of Scottish football, play 2 games in the UEFA Cup. Oh, how did you do that? Well, we got to the Scottish Cup final and we lost. It doesn't sound right, does it?
No, I don't know. There's points for both. There's points for both.
I don't think there's a problem with it. But to get back to Tottenham, just they don't. There's something about that team, and it's just not. It hasn't seemed to have clicked.
Yeah, I think you're on something there, mate. Maybe you should get the job.
Unbalanced.
No, I don't want the job.
They're unbalanced.
You think you could end the season?
How do you think they're unbalanced?
Shite. Everyone else bar attack.
And even then, Son's not been the same player this year, really.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's been kind of Kane and Kulusevski, really, have been driving it forward. It's not like, and let's be clear here, as much as Conte moans about not being back, Conte has been backed to an extent.
100%.
just as I said before, not to the same kind of Man City, Liverpool, Man United, top table club level where you can buy a £50 million player every window, or like Chelsea had spent however much they spent now.
They've got the money, they just don't use it.
Well, think how much money they spent on that stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
All commercial. They don't care about the football now. It's just commercial. They're guaranteed so many NFL games this season. They'll probably
Who,
do.
I think.
Yeah, they'll probably do. Well, the Tyson Fury fight was there in December. Yeah, I mean, they're getting
New
all this
England.
I
income.
think it's next year. The finals of the European Rugby are there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next year as well.
New Wembley.
I read somewhere that Chelsea could be playing it. Remember how when Tottenham got their stadium and they got done up? Well, sorry, built this one. They played at Wembley. I heard that Chelsea could be getting renovations to Stamford Bridge, and they would go to Wembley as well.
You always hear Twickenham. That's always the one mentioned for
I never really
Chelsea.
thought. Suppose when the Hearts had theirs, when they were getting Tynecastle done up, they went
Murrayfield.
Murrayfield, yeah. Because remember,
It depends how long it's for.
Yeah.
So
Rugby stadiums don't work because
if Queens get Palmerston done up, they play at Park Farm.
but yeah,
I mean,
rugby
stadiums
stadiums like Twickenham don't work because the calendar, like the way the Six Nations is and the way the kind of ones in November, December are, they're in really inconvenient times for the football calendar, and like the rugby calendar is defined as, England have 4 home games in autumn or whatever it is, like in November, and that doesn't work with football.
Yeah, we kind of went off on a
We've
interesting.
gone off on a tangent now.
Right, we'll bring it back.
Why no?
Yeah, next on my list. A kind of interesting topic actually. We kind of veered away from discussion. Well, I don't know. Football is such. It's football. Anyway, I was speaking to someone the other day, and we're talking about the impacts that football has on mental health, and I thought it'd be really interesting to discuss. I think it has loads of benefits. For example, just even like when I play fives on a Thursday night, I just feel like it's a relief of tension. It's a good laugh. Like tonight, Carol face planted, which I did a few weeks ago, but he was working, so I missed it.
I do some skills.
Yeah, I think that's a right plus because it kind of lets you forget about your kind of concerns and issues for an hour. But then flipping that, actually going to the football as well, I think is really beneficial. Get to your mates.
Not if you watch Queens.
Yeah, that's a bit of a downer, but going to see your mates, even going to Palmerston in itself is a good day. A good initiative that Queens have done this season. The third kit, stop pulling a face, Greg. The third kit they have brought out, I'm modelling it here. This blackout design, I love it. In it together, promoting mental health. I think it's a really good move by the club. They actually did a campaign for the Women's Day last season, wasn't it? The pink one. So yeah, I thought I'd give Queens a shout out there. Something they've done well. What do we think, boys? Everything to share?
The kit is a good idea in its own right. Black for the dark days folk of. So yeah, it's a good thing. Shows that folk aren't alone.
Yes, I think it's a very good move by Queens.
Well, one of the first clubs to actually do something like that.
It raises awareness, and football clubs are the cornerstone of lots of communities. Mental health is a taboo subject for so many men, and as you say, that going to football, seeing your mates, offers kind of routine for people who maybe aren't having a good time.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if you agree, but obviously it's a bit different because I work Saturdays now, but and Greg, you obviously you're down the road, but and Kel, you work every second weekend. But when you're looking forward to, when you're working at the start of the week, you've got that game to look forward to.
Yeah.
Look forward to. You're going. And maybe the pre-match and the seeing folk and the
pie,
chanting and roaring and screaming and
what about the Bovril count?
Yeah, I was going to come to that later on, but it was Annan review.
I didn't get one. I wasn't really feeling it. I was going to, but I thought,
well, that's it all round right. I'm logging off.
I'll go make one.
Bring this wee bit to an end. I thought it would be a good topic to discuss, and I think Queens have done very well. So shout out. That's why I'm rocking this tonight. Otherwise, I was going to wear my Scotland top for Barnes, but I thought this was a good.
Just remember, if you're suffering, you're not alone.
Yes, give us a message the page. We're all here. We can all access it. Give a chat or message us privately as well.
Speak to your friends, parents,
Yes.
work.
As Queen said, in it together. So, aye, good. Right, as I said, Burns night. So, we're going to post a question. I said, best Scottish player in history, right? And as I thought about this the other day, I thought it's quite hard to pick because you've got different time frames. So, maybe we'll just discuss it together, a kind of older time frame, maybe, I don't know, older players, then coming into like the kind of millennium, and then nowadays, who would say? So, first person that springs to mind thinking back in the day, obviously, we were all, 98 and 99 born.
2000.
Sorry, 2000 as well. Forgot you were one of them.
Wayne.
Yes. But King Kenny's really the one that pops into my head.
Well, him and Dennis Law for me.
The lawman.
They're the two big ones.
Scotland have had a lot of good players over the years.
Just play, they're trying to be shite after it.
Think about, I don't want to mention it, but England won the World Cup in 1966. Scotland beat them on their own patch in 1967. Slim Jim doing keepy uppies, I believe. Jim Baxter, you think back to those type of players, and it's not quite the same. But yeah, I'd say Kenny Dalglish and Dennis Law back in the day. Early recollections of like the kind of millennium time going in, you'd think maybe James McFadden's what pops into my head.
Kenny Miller.
I suppose. I mean,
McCoist, forgot him.
oh, I've jumped up. That's what I meant to do. Sorry, Alan McCoy's first was the only one that scored at 98, wasn't he?
I don't know. I wasn't born.
I'm sure it was. Then so thinking about, was it 06 that McFadden scored that screaming in Paris?
Oh, yeah, 06.
I think that's about right.
It's for the 06 qualifiers.
Yeah. So yeah, you think about that, and then
Beat France twice.
Hmm?
Beat France twice.
Yeah, we did. It was not Ukraine that beat us to put us out.
Probably. So it was somebody's shit.
And then kind of bringing it forward modern day, who would you say, I'll ask, who would you say would be our best player, say from 2010 onwards till now? Because you could
Hard, because
think of a few players, but there's not one standout, I would say.
There is.
John McGinn's the one that comes to my head. Consistency, which we spoke about before.
McGinn, Robertson, Tierney, Naismith, Gordon.
In terms of performances for Scotland, Craig Gordon, especially recently, David Marshall, arguably got us to our first major tournament in how long?
David Marshall.
Mind Chris Iwelumo. Mind that miss. Is that how you pronounce it?
He keeps turning up on TV programmes and reminding me he exists, which just annoys me.
Somebody else I had in mind. Who was it?
Oh, GZ Pubes, man.
It's bugged me that. I had a good player indeed.
In terms of the consistency, again, I definitely understand the Gordon shout, and like you said, Marshall was, what you said the winning penalty, but then I feel like it kind of overshadows that sheet goal in the first game, that sitting in Greg's living room and Dumfries screaming at the telly, ready to go to work.
Yeah.
Not emotionally ready after watching that, but
no,
I feel like that kind of overshadowed it a bit.
Yeah, fuck off. Sorry, I've got sticky keys coming
on. I would say to go back to kind of the discussion about back in the day, one of the reasons there was so many good Scottish players or one of the reasons there might have been, is because there was obviously a limit on, a ban firstly, and then a limit on how many foreign players you could have in the English leagues. And I know perhaps they weren't all that at the time, but the amount of if you think of the amount of Scottish players who used to be in big teams down south, and how that's changed now.
Yeah.
They all play in England pretty much.
They all play in England, but because, I'm not saying because there's a lot more kind of football players from around the world in that league, but because there's not, it's not as easy for them to just pick Scottish internationals because they can play in that league.
Yeah.
There's competition now.
It's interesting. I think I've kind of touched on it briefly in the past, but like the likes of Josh Doigan, Lewis Ferguson, going over abroad. I mean, would you have thought that they'd have moved to Italy? Doig's looking at going to a bigger club now.
Juventus.
Yeah, Hellas Verona. I think he plays that, and then Lewis Ferguson plays for
Bologna.
Bologna.
Yeah.
Oh,
To
same
be
with
fair,
Hickey. He was at
on-
Bologna.
yeah, on the Juventus rumours, after what's happened this week with Juventus being docked however many points, and that's only part one of the investigation. There's more to come.
15. Napoli were Napoli not already running away with it?
Yeah. Like
They
15
were,
points clear
but-
or something.
Given that Juventus had been docked points, and that's part one of the investigation, and there is apparently a lot more to come out of that yet, would you want to move to Juventus right now? I wouldn't.
So see,
Better money.
kind of sidetrack here, but it's interesting. I saw a spreadsheet of like the players who were involved in that. So they basically, from what I gathered, during COVID they said they were earning less than they were.
Well, that hasn't been part of the investigation yet. That hasn't came out yet. There's nothing to do with that yet.
Oh right,
That's not even been investigated yet. The only bit, as far as I'm aware, that they've been docked points for yet is the inflation of transfer fees. So they said that transfer fees were slightly more than they were.
Ah,
That's the bit they've been docked points for. One of them's to do with the Pjanic and Artur swap that happened with Barcelona.
right.
So it was to do with how Juventus paid an instalment so it was both players plus a bit of money each way, and both like Juventus could pay whatever they paid in installments, whereas because they either didn't receive money from Barcelona, they could just put all of that in their accounts for that year.
Yeah.
So it's to do with fudging the money that way, basically. But
So they're at
the
it.
COVID thing, where they put players on furlough and then paid them under the table, as far as I'm aware, that's not been fully investigated yet.
So basically, they could get docked a lot more points.
In hot water.
Relegation, like amount.
Happened with the match fixing scandal before.
They're just a bit of a shoddy
Juventus
club.
fans are not happy. And you think, again, we're on a massive tangent away from Scottish football players here. You think how keen Andrea Agnelli and Juventus were for the European Super League. I wonder why.
What? Because this was coming up.
To get into a situation where they run the game and they can get away with whatever they want.
No.
We've got to visit some.
Visitor live. I'm not going to edit that out.
It's like that BBC thing when the Wayne's are running.
Yeah, if you're going to edit that out, you might edit out most of what I say.
That's fair.
I'm left.
Right, let's move on.
Huge tangent.
I'm out of beer.
Predictions. Let's go to the predictions.
Yes. More postponements last week, as given the time of year. Elgin Drumchapel and the Lithgow Wraith were postponed and were played last night, I believe. We have not included those results as the initial game was postponed, so it goes down as a postponement in our book. I say book, I mean Excel spreadsheet. Last week, another poor performance from me and Robert, only predicting 2 out of the 7 games that went ahead. Kyle, on the other hand, got 4 of those. So that takes the total scores up to Robert and Kyle on 44 and myself on 45. This week it is Robert's turn to do the predictions. There is no Scottish Cup this week, so we are back to normal. Game 1 is, as previously advertised, El Statico. Aberdeen versus Aberdeen, 2 teams embarrassed in the Scottish Cup. As we said earlier, Goodwin needs immediate improvement, but there's only 2 points separate them in the league. How do we think that one's going to go?
Draw. I think just with how much they both need a win, I think it'll be a draw.
I've said Hibs win based on the fact they're in less turmoil than Aberdeen are.
That's funny. I've said an Aberdeen win because I watched Hibs at the weekend and they were pish. I didn't watch as much as Aberdeen, but from what I've seen of Aberdeen against Arsenal, it's going to be hard for them to be that pish again. Game 2 is the game right at the bottom. Ross County versus Kilmarnock. Kelly are one of 3 teams on 20 points. County would join them with a win, but they haven't won a game since the 8th of November. They have won 1 game each in the league so far.
Any takers?
That's what we last. I'm still thinking.
Well, I went for a come on the Gilly.
You went for a Kilmarnock win.
Yeah,
I've gone for a draw because Ross County 0, Kilmarnock 0 seems like the most predictable Scottish football result going.
I think Killian.
Kelly as well. Into the Championship, Dundee versus Queen's Park. Dundee into the Challenge Cup semi-finals, but no wins in 2 in the league. Queen's Park, on the other hand, are top and on a 7-game unbeaten run.
Draw. I'm going draw again.
You're going for a draw.
D for draw.
That's a D for draw. It looked like, I don't know what it looked like, it was backwards on my screen. I have gone for a draw as well. The other game in the Championship is Wraith Rovers versus Inverness. Only 1 win in 5 for Wraith Rovers, but 4 draws in that period. Inverness are still unbeaten this year with 2 wins and a draw.
I went for a Wraith of the Rovers. Just that Inverness are shite, aren't they? I don't know.
They're unbeaten this year. I've gone for an Inverness win.
I'm going Inverness win. I know.
Into League One, Airdrie Onions versus Alloa Athletic. Airdrie 1-1 draw with Kelty 2 weekends ago. I can't concentrate and read them.
Sorry.
They're sitting 5th in the table. Alloa are 4th and on a 5-match unbeaten run. But their only 2 wins in that run were against Queens and FC Edinburgh.
I went Airdrie Onions.
Yeah, Airdrie Onions.
I've went Alloa given their unbeaten run. Other game in League One is at the top, second v third, FC Edinburgh versus Falkirk. FC Edinburgh have now lost 2 in a row and dropped behind Falkirk into third. Falkirk are on a decent run and unbeaten in 6 in the league and have won both league meetings between the teams so far this year. I'll start this one off. I've gone for a Falkirk win.
Falkirk! Me too.
Yeah, me too, because Edinburgh just looks shite whenever I've seen them.
Yes. Into League Two, Albion Rovers versus Forfar Athletic. I don't know what I said. I meant Albion Rovers versus Forfar Athletic.
So you said.
Did I? I thought I said Alloa Rovers. I don't quite know why.
Well, we
Albion
read it
Rovers
back in
versus
the
Forfar Athletic. Albion have played 2 games this year and won both of them 4-0. Forfar have beat Annan and leaders Dumbarton in their last 2 games and have won 4 of their last 5 games in the league.
Albion.
Sorry. Draw.
It looked like you were preparing to say the word draw. I have gone for Albion Rovers as well. League Two, the other game is Stennismuir versus Elgin City. Stenny won the first half against Livy in the Cup, but conceded 3 in the second half. A win and a draw in the league has stopped their slide down the table. Elgin beat Drumchapel in the rearranged game, but haven't won the last 2 in the league.
Stenhousemuir.
Draw.
I have also gone for a draw. We also have 2 wild cards again this week. These games again, I can't remember if I said at the start, were all picked by Robert this week. We have the Northern Irish Premier League makes its appearance again with Carrick Rangers versus Glenavon, which sounds far too close to what sounds like a Scottish juniors game. Carrick Rangers, no wins in 7. Glenavon with no wins in 3. Carrick would go above Glenavon with a win. Carrick have scored 10 less goals than Glenavon in the league.
Draw.
I went for Yer Da Sells Glenavon.
I've also gone for Glenavon. And the other game, wildcard, is in English League Two. Is Rochdale at home to Parallel United. Rochdale are bottom now because Gillingham have won 2 in a row and moved above them on goal difference. Carlisle, after me looking at the table, I've not seen it in a while, are somehow in 4th and have won 4 wins in 5. But there was a 3-3 draw between the teams in September. I remember because it bust my accumulator.
I'm going City. Carlisle.
This is United, not City.
Oh, I'm going
I did wonder
United
that.
City. Carlisle.
I went for the closest English team to us. United.
I've went
City.
for not the closest English team to
Obviously.
me, Carlisle.
Oh, you know what I meant. I said it first. Use a copy.
That is the end of the
Nice.
predictions for this week.
Thanks, Greg. Splendid as always.
It's
Spot
much harder to do this on video.
Oh, well, it's fun. Anyway, yes, that wraps us up for our first video, but it is episode 12. Yeah, please listen to the rest of them, and hopefully you'll watch the rest that are coming up. So yeah,
Sure ones.
thank you for watching, listening, putting up with us. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. See you now.
God bless. Godspeed.